Overwatch tanking is changing, guys. It is going from protecting your team to more focus on individual tank skill, which should allow you to protect your team better. But is that the case? Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. So in this video, we're going to take a very, let's say, logical view at what's going on the PTR. Now, I'm going to bring in some experience I've had through watching professional players scrim on the PTR recently, and also just through playing the game myself on the PTR. And there is one critical key thing here to remember, guys. Try not to worry. This is the PTR. Yes, it is a big change to Overwatch. Barriers are now much weaker. There are a lot of changes to the tank heroes, and in this video, I will break down where I believe each tank actually resides right now in the PTR meta, which of course will most likely become the meta on the live servers. Now, the big thing here to remember as well is it takes time for the meta to develop when it hits live servers. A lot of things can be considered hot takes right now. I remember when Sigma launched, me and Josh, we made a video and we said, hey, Sigma, he looks like a very strong barrier off tank, maybe a bit too strong. There were other people out there saying, oh no, he's a main tank. So you get a lot of confusion there. I would always argue that Sigma was never a main tank, but he had a lot of... He could function as a very, very strong secondary main tank. That's kind of his role, I think. But I don't think Blizzzard intended that. And through the changes on this PTR, you can see they've changed Sigma in a big way to categorically say he is an off tank. Okay, guys, let's get stuck into the video. So the first thing we need to actually just take on board is this. It's a general hero update, and it's the way armor works. Armor damage reduction increased from 3 to 5. This means armor is straight up better. This is actually a really big change. It means that characters with armor can take more damage before the armor is removed, thus meaning they are actually way more tanky than they used to be. So this is, well, anybody with armor. So we're going to focus on the tank heroes in this video. So heroes like Hammond, obviously he's going to be stronger because his armor is more effective. You got heroes like Reinhardt, yes, Orisa, but Orisa actually gets an additional 50 armor just anyway in the changes, as well as this change. So she's super, super individually tanky, but we'll get onto her in a second, because again, there's more confusion. People saying Orisa's got this massive buff. She's now totally OP. She's over the top, but I'll try and break it down in this video, guys. So just stay tuned and it's going to be wonderful. And by the way, guys, if you're really enjoying this video, do like the video. The more likes, the more interaction we get, the bigger our community will get. And it also means that we can look through the comments as well, and we can see more discussion going on, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely, I love it, guys. Thank you for watching the videos and subscribing to the channel, and also click the bell as well if you do subscribe. It's awesome stuff. As ever, I will try to keep you guys critically informed as to what's going on in the Overwatch world, instead of, like, you know, going for crazy, you know, just clickbait. We're not going to do that. We don't do that, right? Okay, let's move on. So let's talk Sigma. Sigma. He has been massively nerfed, right? On paper, Sigma's barrier is obliterated. It goes from 1,500 hit points to 900. That is a massive change. That's just incredible. Then we look at his barrier regeneration rate. It's been reduced from 150 to 120. Again, that is massive. It might only look like 30 health points there, but it is massive. That is massive. So less barrier for Sigma, less barrier uptime as well. Kinetic Grasp, the old suck. Now this cooldown has been reduced from 13 seconds, to 10. Now that's only 3 seconds, but again, this is actually fairly huge. And the damage to shield ratio gain has increased from 40 to 60%. Now that only looks like a 20% increase there, but I think in reality that's closer to like 50% extra shields that you would get before this buff went on to Sigma. Now, what's going on here with Blizzzard? Well, again, this is very simple. Blizzzard are saying we don't want tanks with barriers to simply deploy a barrier and they're doing their job. We want to remove the power from the barrier and give it to the tank. Now, here's the big kicker. Is this actually going to work? I don't think we know yet, and I don't think we will know until this goes onto the live service. There are hellish scenarios where we just see Hanzos and Roadhogs deleting every barrier instantly, and then everybody dying, or Bastion being crazy OP because he can just delete barriers. There's a lot of stuff, but do remember, D.Va has had a defense matrix buff, so maybe Blizzzard are trying to anticipate that by saying, hey, if barriers are weaker, maybe you could throw in a cheeky D.Va. Anyway, let's carry on with Sigma. So Sigma now has to focus more on body block tanking. And this is the same for Reinhardt as well, and even Orisa. We'll get onto those heroes in a second. So Sigma, think of a gameplay flow for Sigma right now. Throws his barrier out, his barrier takes a ton of damage, it gets destroyed. or maybe he recalls it. Let's say a better Sigma player recalls it before he gets destroyed, then uses Kinetic Grasp, sucks in damage, then generates way more shields than he used to before, personal shields, moves forward himself, taking the damage, tanking it onto his shields, then throws back out his barrier, which is probably not fully charged because it's had a reduction in barrier health regeneration, but it's enough time for him to then recall the barrier, or maybe the barrier gets destroyed this time, and then he uses Kinetic Grasp again, because now it's 3 seconds faster when it comes to the cooldown. So you see what I'm saying here? He is blocking the damage with his body. Tanks are physically bigger characters in Overwatch, probably for a reason, guys, because they can absorb damage. And also as well, it's better, or it feels better, for DPS players to be firing at a actual player instead of shooting a barrier. So if the player is tankier, I don't think it's as bad to play instead of just firing at a barrier. Now, what's going to happen to Sigma? Is this just a game-destroying nerf to Sigma? We don't know, right? That is the honest evaluation of Sigma, and we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But he is definitely an off-tank. He is not a main tank. Never run him as a solo main tank. I don't think that's ever going to work. Okay, let's get on to Orisa. Orisa is the big one. People going... Orisa's been insanely buffed. Orisa is just absolutely crazy. She's way more powerful. She doesn't die. That's kind of true, right? Because this is the changes to Orisa. So base armor is increased from 200 to 250. That's massive. And remember as well, armor is just now more effective. So this is crazy. She has 250 armor. Let that sink in for a second. That is actually mental. Fusion driver, she can fire... well, she walks 10% faster than she did before. So she's got 20% speed reduction instead of 30 when she's firing, which is fine. Now, this puts her more into a brawler tank category, and we'll get onto that in a second. Protective barrier, this is the big one. Health reduced from 900 to 600. This means Roadhog, with 4 alternate fire shots, can delete the barrier. Now, that's very scary because it means Orisa doesn't have her barrier like she used to. It's just going to get deleted. There's going to be a lot of gaps in Orisa barrier placement. She'll put the barrier down, it will get destroyed, and then there will be a very awkward 3, maybe 4 seconds before she can put another barrier down, and that's going to be a very awkward compared to how she is now, where she can put a barrier down, and if it gets destroyed, pretty much drops another barrier down right away, or there's maybe half a second of downtime. Now, here's the other one. Fortify. Cooldown decreased from 10 to 8 seconds. So, let's just think of Orisa, right? She's got 250 armor. She's got a 600 HP barrier. She moves faster while firing a weapon. And she can use Fortify more often. What does this mean? This means she is a brawler tank. Now, let me explain what that is. That is a tank that can survive in the middle of a brawl while being annoying. Remember, she's still got Halt, which is a very annoying ability. She's going to be super, super tanky. When she's using Fortify now, she's going to be incredibly difficult to stop. But does she do enough damage to actually make her a threat? Now, this is where I'm seeing a lot of holes in the arguments I've seen a lot of people put forward over the past few days. Yes, Orisa is not a bunker tank anymore because her barrier simply will not allow that. Orisa herself is very difficult to kill. She is probably the most survivable tank right now in the game on the PTR. So what would you do to this tank? Surely you would ignore this tank. Surely you would take Orisa, destroy a barrier, and then just run through Orisa, kill everybody else, and ignore the Orisa. See, I think this is going to happen, and I think that's actually really easy to do, considering the buffs to Reinhardt, which we will get onto in a second, which is basically he moves faster so he can just get into the fight quicker. You can almost just bypass the Orisa. So I think that's where Orisa is going to suffer. But where could Orisa be really good? I think Orisa is going to be really, really good on control, or anywhere where you have to capture a specific point. She's going to be super good because she's going to be very difficult to kill. She can probably keep herself alive much longer than any of the other tanks, so she's going to be a pretty effective delay tank, and she's just going to be super annoying to kill. That's the thing. Really annoying to kill. Do I think it's crazy? It's massively OP? I don't know. There is one thing I may possibly talk about at the end of the video. It depends how long this goes for, because I know this is a very packed video with content. Orisa Reinahrdt could actually be fairly good, but we'll get onto that in a second. But yeah, Orisa, it is strange. You play Orisa on the PTR, it is different than on live. You feel very individually powerful, but you lose the ability to protect your team. Now, this goes back again to the whole idea of being a body blocking tank, just get in there and use your actual character model to absorb damage, and Orisa can do that. The issue is, it's very easy to run past an Orisa. Okay, let's move on to Reinhardt. Now, I love this change. I really enjoy this change. Even to the point of Reinahrdt is just not playable on the live servers for me anymore. Like, he feels like a completely different hero on the PTR. So what they've done is they've reduced his barrier from 2,000 to 1,600 hit points, which means it is still the best barrier in the game. Well, I guess, let's not include Symmetra's ultimate here, but it is the best tank barrier in the game still. But it has lost 400 hit points, which is a big nerf. Movement speed penalty reduced from 50 to 25% when the barrier is deployed. That is crazy. This is what makes him just feel absolutely way better to play. But then he gets this. So his passive, which is steadfast, knockback resistance increased from 30 to 50%. Now, this is again a bit deceptive on paper because you're like, oh, he can only be knocked back 20% less than before. Is this really a lot? Well, there's some weird interactions with this right now. The way to look at this is Reinhardt cannot be crowd controlled. It seems like a very basic way to explain it, but that's just Reinhardt. You cannot stop Reinhardt. He is coming for you. You cannot punch him away with Doomfist. You cannot boop him away with Lucio. He will be in there and he will be smashing your face in. You cannot headbutt him with Diva to throw him out of the way. He is coming for you guys, right? How are you going to stop this beast of a man blasting into your backline and destroying you? See, this is where it comes back to the idea of Orisa. Yeah, she's great, but Reinhardt can just rush past Orisa and just start smashing people up. It is actually insane. Reinhardt, I think, he's one of the heroes in Overwatch. He's kind of like a Tracer. So they're like, how can I explain this? Like tent poles of Overwatch, where you change a Reinhardt and it will change the way the game's played. You change Tracer and it changes the way the game is played. You can see the developer design direction here. It is make the game faster. Reinahrdt now promotes play which doesn't include standing in a choke. If you are on King's Row first point attack, you're going to want to go in deep. You're not going to just want to stand in the choke because you can't. You don't have the barrier protection to do that. You have to keep moving forward. And because you move faster, this promotes you being more aggressive. So Reinahrdt becomes a more aggressive tank than he was before. So you push forward towards the enemy. If they've got an Orisa, you probably just go straight through her barrier. You start smashing the backline of the enemy team up. Reinahrdt and Zarya, very strong combo. Now, this was kind of touted as a very strong combo to potentially deal with the Sigma Orisa combo. It never actually worked out that way on live servers, but now I think it will because of the buff to Reinhardt's movement speed with his barrier deployed. He's in your face much quicker, and it is shockingly faster. It's like, oh no, Reinhardt is on us. We're going to have to do something about this. But Zarya's always worked well with Reinhardt, but now it's even more effective because Reinhardt is in the combat quicker. Zarya's also been buffed herself as well. She does more damage off her alternate fire, which is nice to see. And yeah, you've kind of got all these little elements which are being plugged together. So when I come back to the idea of this, the power levels of the tanks, I think this is the best way to sum it up. Orisa is very difficult to kill. Very, very difficult. She's got 50 armor extra than she used to before. Armor's more effective. She can fortify more often. But she's only got a 600 HP barrier, which kind of means that, yes, you can bypass her a little bit easier than you could before. But do remember, she has Halt, which is a strong ability. So Orisa is still a strong tank. She is not dead. So if you're an Orisa player, I wouldn't really worry too much. It's just you've had your power shifted from barrier into your actual player. Interesting stuff. Rein is very strong. Reinhardt is a massive buff. Even though his barrier has been nerfed, Reinhardt is very, very strong. Consider him effectively immune to all knockback crowd control. He has massively good initiation. Like, he is the best tank now at initiating a fight, unless you're looking for a dive tank, in which case it would be Winston. You can use rushdown comms, which just means you run at the enemy. You can do this with Reinhardt now. You run at them. Be nice if you've got a Zarya. You run at them and smash their brains out. It is crazy. Reinhardt is very, very strong right now. Zarya does more DPS. She's very good with Reinhardt. If Reinhardt wins, Zarya wins. So we will see more Zarya play. And of course, because barriers are weaker, Zarya will be able to do more damage because there'll be less barriers. Now, Sigma is the funky one. Yes, his barrier has been utterly destroyed. He does have power placed into his kinetic grasp, but I'm not sure if this is... I'm just going to be honest, I'm not sure where Sigma lies right now. And it's probably for this reason, for Roadhog. Because Roadhog is a massive winner in this PTR meta. Remember, recently, he had an additional ammo given to his primary fire or his secondary fire, so he now fires 6. This means he can do more damage, but with barriers being nerfed, it means that Hog can, well, destroy the barriers quicker, and then he can start doing Hog things. And remember as well, Sigma got nerfed where Hog can hook Sigma through his suck, and that's obviously pretty strong. So we could be going into an era here of Reinhardt Hog or Orisa Hog being the actual tank meta. And in fact, I probably would bet on that to begin with. Hammond is just more effective because armor's better. But Hammond is still Hammond. That's kind of the way to look at Hammond. It's fine. Now, D.Va's a funky one, so I'm not really seeing too much change here with D.Va, but her defense matrix is stronger, and she could start coming back to supplement the loss of barrier strength, because, of course, defense matrix will remove incoming projectiles, so in effect, it is a barrier. Winston, recent barrier buff kind of means he's better at dive, but the problem with Winston is you've got Doomfist, you've got Reaper, you've got Mei, you've got Batiste. Winston can't really jump into those guys. He's just going to get destroyed. So, yes, it is difficult. And also, interesting point to note with Winston, when he uses Primal Rage now on PTR, don't bother Primal Raging a Reinhardt because he just won't move. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's been a pretty in-depth video there. Now, I've been playing a lot of PTR Overwatch, trying to get to grips. I will get a grasp of, I guess, the way that this meta is changing on the PTR and what the developers are trying to do. And I guess to end the video, I want to show you this. This is the developer comments for the tank changes. And I think this gives you a good outline as to what they're trying to do. The above changes to armor, Orisa, Sigma, and Reinhardt are aimed at decreasing the overall amount of time players spend damaging barriers while improving the individual heroes in other areas. This is a significant change to the pace of the game, and we'll be monitoring these heroes closely to ensure they remain impactful gameplay in the tank role. So Blizzzard is still watching, Blizzzard is still listening. Remember, guys, leave feedback in the comments below. Leave feedback wherever you can. The developers probably will see it. And if they do, you know, maybe your comments could push them into one direction. Not the band, they're terrible. Anyway, I reckon this is a good change overall. PTR feels different, it feels faster, but we need to get this onto live, which is always the get out clause in these videos. We need to get this onto live to work out how this is going to affect the game. But try not to worry. Hopefully in this video, I have covered everything you guys need to know. I know it is a long video. We're probably getting close to 20 minutes in this video now. I know it's long, but there's a lot to cover here. And I just wanted to try and reassure everybody that it's probably not as bad as you might think it is, or maybe it could be a little bit better. I don't know. Guys, I've been Stylosa, and this is Unit Lost. If you enjoyed the video, then like the video. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter, which is @Stylosa. It's also @Stylosa on Instagram, and I will catch you lovely lot on the next one. Toodaloo.